You fall in love, confess, and then live happily ever after, right? Wrong! Even among lovers, there's a winner and a loser. The one who confessed and the one that got confessed to. Love is war, and the loser is the person who confesses first. Or at least that's the premise of Kaguya-Sama Love is War, and of Kaguya and Shirogane, two geniuses who definitely haven't fallen in love with the other, and that definitely don't want to spend their high school life being sweethearts. Definitely. Jokes aside, anybody who has had an actual healthy relationship knows why this mindset is toxic. As the famous saying goes, it's not you against me, it's us against the world. I mean us against the problem. Making your significant other feel desired, loved and special is what makes relationships thrive. Not mattering if you are a man or a woman. Just seeing the joy on their face when you remember that tiny detail they told you about months ago. Or seeing how much they enjoy you cooking their favorite dish, not just because they love it, but because you made it. While probably also thinking of them. Now, of course, relationships aren't just sunshine and rainbows. A lot of things can go wrong, but depending on how the couple handles things, they may just strengthen their bond instead of loosening it. That's the view of someone who has read too many rom-coms and has been in a few long and short-term relationships. The view we get in our story is of two egomaniacs who love their pride and hate confronting their feelings. Both of them see everything as a competition, so to them love isn't any different, and the one who confesses is deemed as the loser. But here's a fun fact about Kaguya and Shirogane: they both lost. Yeah, that's right, the geniuses' war of love and brains ended in a draw. How and why? Is it because they realized how stupid their original view was? Maybe. Is it because they got tired of spending hours on thinking how to message the other instead of just having fun doing it? Probably. But at the end of the day, the reason is because both of them are prideful egomaniacs who remember everything. The president lost the day he saw Kaguya rescue someone because he fell in love first, thus admitting his defeat to himself but not to Kaguya. Kaguya lost because she initiated the first kiss that never ended. She rejected everything the Shinomiya family taught her about woman in love, and just embraced her feelings for the president, thus losing. They both relinquished their pride in those days and admit their loss to themselves but not to the other, and because both of them are prideful egomaniacs, they won't bring those losses up, and thus both of them think they lost. I wouldn't click off the video just yet though, because the War of Love and Brains still has many interesting aspects. The two that started everything: Miyuki Shirogane and Kaguya Shinomiya. Two geniuses, one being the eldest daughter of the Shinomiya group, a group that basically owns Japan, the other being the top ranked student of the most elite academy in Japan and its students' council president. That's the surface of it, but in reality, both of them are deeply flawed and insecure. Before getting together, both of them played mind games with each other in order to make the other confess their feelings. Even choosing seats for a movie date wasn't an easy task for the two of them. But why? Well, besides their pride and ego, it's something way deeper and older for both of them. In Shirogane's case, it's quite simple. He was a nobody. A failure, invisible. Before our dear president became the president, he was just a transfer student at Shuchin. As some students would say, an impure. Compared to everyone else, he didn't know anybody. He didn't have any money, and he didn't have any talent for archery, finances, sketchy political stuff, miso, etc. He was invisible. Nobody cared about him, and those who did only wanted to mock him. Everything changed though, when the Fire Nation attacked. I mean, when he met her. Shirogane believed that the world was just cruel and unfair to him, that he deserved money, looks, talent, and power more than the spoiled brats that were the Shuchin students. And yet, here he is, the good Samaritan watching as an innocent girl is drowning to death. Him not knowing how to swim is in the way of being her Romeo. But Juliet comes to her rescue, and in an epic moment, Shirogane realizes that all the money, power, talent, and or looks in the world don't do anything when you refuse to take the napkin, when you don't take action. Someone that does take action no matter the circumstances is indeed someone beautiful. And thus Shirogane lost the war by falling in love with the person who took the napkin, Kaguya Shinomiya. The only question remains, how can he be the one to take action, to take the napkin? On the flip side, we have Kaguya-Sama. She has been taught the Shinomiya way since birth. She should be strong, she should not rely on others, she should not trust others. All of these are Shinomiya values. But in Kaguya's case, there is also the fact that she's a woman. You see, the Shinomiyas are a traditional family, so Kaguya is seen first as the gender role she's supposed to fulfill, and second as her own person. The man she's supposed to be with needs to be better than her, richer, smarter, stronger, and besides that, she shouldn't do stuff like ask him on a date or kiss him, because that's the man's duty, not the woman's. She basically grew up as a porcelain doll that's never allowed to be taken out of her case, otherwise her value would diminish, and that made her be oh so cold. But eventually she met someone, a man who loved her, not mattering if she was as cold as ice, dumb as a brick, or insecure like most teens. A man who'd come steal her even from the moon if it meant that she'd be happy. The only question that remains is, would he be happy standing next to her? And this is how our war began. Two insecure kids who just want to feel wanted and needed in this world, trying to find their place next to each other. On the surface, ego may seem to be what's keeping them apart, but the truth is, it's fear. Fear that the other would end up like every single person they've ever met. In President's case, fear of Kaguya finding him to be unworthy of her love, thinking that the second Kaguya sees the failures of Miyuki Shirogane, she'll leave, just like his mother. As for Kaguya, she's afraid that the press will find out her cold side, her dumb side, or her insecure side, get annoyed with her and put her back in her box, never interacting with her again, just like every single person in her family. So how do they both overcome this? As cliche as it sounds, they overcame it together. Kaguya's insecurity came from Shirogane not accepting her, being scared of the mean Ice Queen looking down upon the cute Kaguya-chan, and finally not understanding insecure teenager Kaguya. All of these problems the president managed to solve, and he even solved something greater, which was the Shinomiya family war, which the anime won't adapt, so either read the manga or watch this. The simplest one is Kaguya-chan. In her debut and only episode, we get to see Shirogane dumps himself down to her level so he can understand her, then take care of her so she can go back to smart Kaguya. He could have wanted to preserve Kaguya-chan like Fujiwara, but he knew that this isn't what Kaguya would have wanted. For anxious teen Kaguya, aka Ribbon Kaguya, we basically get the whole freaking anime. From Shirogane reassuring her that he'll save her from the moon, aka her family, to him actually doing that multiple times, once during the fireworks and once during the family arc, we also get him making her securing his love for her via becoming the president again, choosing her as his VP, and the beautiful scene at the end of the cultural festival. Every time Kaguya thought no one would save her, her prince learned from his mistake and took the napkin, making sure that she knows that he understands her better than anyone. And despite that, or better said, because of that, he'll go above and beyond for her. You might have noticed that we skipped the Kaguya. Where's the Ice Princess? Do I hate her? Is she unredeemable or something? On the contrary, she is by far my favorite version of Kaguya. Ice Kaguya is the coping mechanism of Kaguya Shinomiya. Years of the Shinomiya family cramming their values into her head made her an Ice Queen, right? Not really. There are two sides, in my opinion, to Icea. Get it? Ice plus Kaguya, Icea. First, there is the side that makes Icea cold towards everybody. This side usually makes people afraid of her. But our dear president understood something that most don't. Icea is cold to people so they don't get hurt by the Shinomiya values inside Kaguya. She chooses to keep people away, so she and her family don't hurt them anymore. Shirogane sees kindness in this action, and that makes him accept and love Icea as much as any other Kaguya variant. Secondly, in my opinion, and from what I understood from the narrator and her actions, Icea is a girl.
She is the manifestation of the wariness all people have toward one another, combined with the cowardice of a young girl in love.
The Shinomiyas taught her to be self-sufficient and not trust anyone. but also taught her about the role of woman in their family. This made Aisia become the Kaguya that's the most girl-like. What does this mean? Well, the fact that I'm getting cancelled most likely, but also it gives a reason for everything Aisia does. We learn that her primary objective is to get a kiss from the president, but compared to the cultural festival one, he needs to kiss her. Then we get the walk home scene. Kaguya desperately wants the president to hold her hand and warm her up, but she doesn't want him to do it because she told him to, she just keeps hinting at it, so he would do it out of his own volition and thoughtfulness for her. The final time we get this is with the perfume. In an earlier chapter/episode, we got to see Kaguya wearing nail polish, thanks to Hayasaka that told her that the press will find it nice. Now we get Kaguya out of her own volition wearing perfume, so that the press will tell her that it smells nice. And after a long chase, we get to see our girl happy, because the president finally acted like a man and noticed her perfume and complimented it. Aisia may seem like a cold, unfeeling person, but the truth is, she's just the most insecure Kaguya. She is the version that wants compliments, the version that wants to be kissed and held at random times just cause. The version that grew up being taught that if a man truly loves and wants you, he'll just do these things, instead of leaving them up to you. While they may seem like sexist, old-age gender values, and they pretty much are, if you change the man and woman to just person 1 wants person 2 to do romantic things spontaneously to them, so it's not strictly a man to woman thing, but a person to person thing, making it possible to be man to man, woman to woman, woman to man, and whatever else there is. It makes it be what a lot of us desire, to be wanted and needed, no matter if you are a man, woman, or something else. This is probably why I like Aisia so much, because to me, she's just relatable, both as seeing myself be her, though less icy I guess and more communication, but also seeing her in past girlfriends, since I used to just buy chocolate for them for no reason and that would make them happy. So how did the president solve her? He gave her a big kiss on a bench. It wasn't something big and fancy like the festival, but it was real, and that's everything Aisia wanted to melt her heart. A relationship needs two people though. So how did Kaguya help the president? Well, I think the first time she saved him was when they met. As I've said before, Shirogane was a nobody, invisible. Him meeting Kaguya gave him a goal, and also made him realize that the only reason he was a nobody was because he let himself be a nobody. Thus, Miyuki Shirogane pushed himself to his limits and became number 1. Finally making a name for himself in the academy, and with that name came respect, admiration, and friends. This also became his curse though, because now he's always putting 200% of himself into everything, which, while admirable, is also making him dig a big hole of depression, guilt, and imposter syndrome, which is all shown in his horrific room. I remember getting chills the first time I saw this in the manga, because it just showed how broken Shirogane was. On the outside, he was the unbeatable student council president, but on the inside, he was still the child his mom didn't choose, and was afraid of it happening again. His big plan at the festival was the culmination of all of that. He made an incredible first kiss, one of the best in anime probably, but the cost was him feeling like he needs to either keep that energy, that grandiose display, or worse, up it. After all, Kaguya wouldn't even know him if he was still his loser self, and thus Miyuki Shirogane broke, both mentally and physically. So how did Kaguya save him? Ironically, by wanting what she has always wanted, a normal, everyday romance. The president always saw Kaguya as the unreachable moon, quite fitting, since his dream was to become an astronaut. But like Hoshino Ai, all she wanted was just an ordinary life. Things like walking with your friends to school, enjoying a cultural festival, or making cute photos were all things she couldn't do. But thanks to Shirogane and the gang, she managed to. And the last on her list was the normal, everyday romance. She didn't need every kiss to be more spectacular than the last. She didn't need her every present to be handpicked from the finest staff on earth. She just wanted to be normal. Shirogane wouldn't accept that. He thought that the second he would stop one-upping himself, she'd leave him, like his mother. But on that fateful night, in that ordinary park, Kaguya told him something that would ease him up. I also changed. Yeah, they may have never been together if Shirogane didn't push himself so hard. But at the end of the day, he wasn't the only one who changed during their stay in the council. She also changed from her cold self to someone more open. And now that she took off her mask and reverted back to her selfish, selfless Ice Princess self, it was his turn to take off the mask and enjoy a nice, ordinary Christmas with her. And that even if he were to push himself too hard again, she'd be there for him to to make him take a break. She also enjoyed the kendama, so that eased him up a little bit as well. And that's how the War of Love and Brains ended, in a draw, because at the end of the day, both Kaguya and Miyuki won. They overcame their traumas and earned a relationship that we know will last for ages, thanks to Oshinoko. Kaguya-sama wants to be confessed to. Kaguya-sama loveiswar. Kaguya-sama the genius's war of love and brains. All of them are the story of two masterminds scheming impossible plans to make each other lose. I mean, they are also that, but in reality, they are the story of two teenage kids that got really hurt and are now learning to love, and more importantly, to be loved again from each other. And that, to me, makes it one of my favorite mangas ever, and the reason I made this video.
He's lying.
Got you right? I love the story of Kaguya and Shirogane, but the reason I kept rereading Kaguya is for the story of two others. I wanted this final chapter to be about Ishigami and Iino as a love story, but honestly that would be wrong. Not because Ishi-Ino isn't the best ship in Kaguya, it is, but because like Kaguya and Shirogane, both Ishigami and Iino are much more than their romance. Both of them had struggles that they had to overcome and feelings that they had to understand. Ishigami started out as an emo NEET. He was good with computers and numbers, good at games and liked anime, but he was lazy, depressed, had no vision and was a loner. Basically a high school loser. Throughout the story we get to see Ishigami overcome all of this. Thanks to his time with Kaguya, the press and the squad at the sports event, he became more ambitious and hardworking. He realized that the people he knew as normies weren't all that bad or different than him, and got to befriend them, no longer being a loser or as close-minded as before. He started volunteering for activities, he started to offer solutions to problems, he started to enjoy life again. Even better, his love for computers, video games and anime didn't disappear, it just helped him. He bonded with the press via manga and anime, his computer skills helped the new console and stuff like the 3D audio horror house. Finally, his love for games landed him a nice group of friends that he gets to game with, even during school breaks. The all-depressed and non-ambitious Ishigami didn't get written out of the story, he just evolved. He got better at interacting with others, he doesn't judge people anymore, and he proved to himself that he can be smart like the president, Kaguya and Iino too. All of this happened because of love. His affection towards his middle school classmate got him into the gutter, but it also made it so he met the press, Kaguya and Fujiwara. His platonic love for the captain made him realize that normies aren't bad people. They are just different compared to him. His love for Tsubame made him become ambitious and hardworking. His love for games, anime and computers made him connect and or help so many people. And even though young Ishigami didn't like to admit it, his love for Iino will get him a kick-ass girlfriend that's surprisingly pretty compatible with him. But more on that later. Ishigami's struggles all came from being alone, thanks to his middle school accident. That loneliness crushed him and made it so he couldn't trust people anymore. It also made him hate righteous people like Iino, because he did the right thing, so why did he get punished for it? That isn't where his loneliness ends though. It also made him fall for Tsubame. See, I may get flamed for this, but Ishigami's love for her was fake. He didn't actually like Tsubame Koyasu, because he never met Tsubame Koyasu. He just met the girl that was nice to everyone. He didn't meet the girl that made an elaborate plan to expose his middle school story to everybody. He met the girl that would always smile and try to make people happy. Sounds familiar. He never showed his true self to her. and she didn't show her true self to him. Ishigami always treated her as a star and a normie, never as his equal, and that's why he never truly opened up to her. On the other hand, Tsubame, like a certain somebody, never really got loved correctly. Guys would just hit on her because of her appearance or bubbly persona. They wanted some easy fun times or just a trophy, but nobody ever wanted what's beneath the Tsubame Koyasu mask. And I may be wrong, but I don't think we ever saw what's behind it, only Kaguya did. Because of that, she didn't know if she loved Ishigami or if Ishigami actually loved her, because both of them always wore a mask. In the end, Ishigami getting rejected was a blessing, because now he isn't alone, and the next time he falls in love won't be because the pretty girl was nice to him, but because he actually got to know her. Miko Iino is my favorite character. It's something I never thought I'd say. Honestly, it's either her or Ishigami. Not sure if she beat him yet or is equal to him, but anyways, like every person in this manga, she has problems. And again, like every person in this manga, she has family issues. Iino's struggles come from her one-sided view of justice and her miss of familial love. We get to see this every single time she catches something weird happening in the council, and every single time she gets manipulated either by Fujiwara or just random people. Iino and Ishigami are more alike than they like to admit, because both of them are lonely, and both of their loneliness got cured by the council. Not to mention how the president saved both of them. Compared to Ishigami though, she didn't need friends, she needed a new view on life, which she got thanks to the student council members. Her new view helped beat the Shinomiya family, and she did that by playing dirty, something the Iino we got introduced to would never think to do. The president helped her understand her feelings and catch some bravery in both her public speaking skills but also in life, as we see her going on the attack on Ishigami. Ishigami helped her understand love more than anyone. Him being rejected but still moving forward despite that showed her that rejection isn't the end, and Kaguya Shirogane showed her that if the rejection doesn't happen, then the life she could live would be wonderful. Lastly, her final discussion with Osaragi to me was amazing. Not all friendships are everlasting, and not all friendships are perfect, but that doesn't make them any less than others. I think us being able to talk to anyone, anywhere, anywhen, thanks to how convenient our phones are and how powerful social media is, has made us forget that not talking to someone for some time or not responding instantly doesn't mean that you don't care. Just that you may have found someone that you care even more about. This is something hard to accept. It doesn't matter on which side you are because change is scary, but I think the chains of stagnation are even scarier. Miko Iino changed, while Osaragi didn't, and that made their friendship struggle. Not Ishigami, but the difference in life experience they gained. That didn't mean that they couldn't talk to each other anymore. It just meant that neither of them relied on the other as much as before, and that's okay. And now we get to Ishi-Iino. I believe this is the best relationship in Kaguya, even though it technically hasn't sailed yet. My reasoning for this is because both Iino and Ishigami can relate to each other, more than any other member in the cast. Kaguya and Shirogane may be perfect for each other, in Iino's words, but Shirogane can never understand the life Kaguya had lived and vice versa for Kaguya. For Ishigami and Iino this doesn't apply because both of them were and are so alike. From weird otaku hobbies that they get judged on, like Iino's fanfics and Ishigami's love for manga, to their social awkwardness and how both of them got over it. That still doesn't make either of them an extrovert though. I think what made this cheap for me was the jokes. If you read the Kaguya manga for Ishigami and Iino, you realize that they kind of both have the same sense of humor. Dark humor, self-deprecating jokes, and jokes that hide their insecurities. And both of them are insecure in the same areas, as seen when they both ask the same question in the money game. At the end of the day, the best thing about Ishigami and Iino is the thing that Ishigami never had with Tsubame: naturalness. Both of them act natural with each other. They fight, bicker, and comfort. Something Ishigami and Tsubame never did because he always saw her as perfect, and she always saw him as a kid. They don't hesitate to criticize the other, but also pretty clearly enjoy each other's company. Iino enjoys it so much that she got Papa Gane to help her with Apex, so she could play with Ishigami. She's a Revenant main, by the way, and Ishigami rejoined the council for her. Not because he cared about it, but because he wanted to spend more time with her. In the end, Ishino has one thing Kaguya Empress don't, a full beginning. We hear tales of young Shirogane and Kaguya, but for Ishigami and Iino, we are there at the beginning, to see how both of them help each other, with no ulterior motives, how both of them slowly start noticing the other, and in the end, how both replaced Kaguya and Shirogane as the Shuchin, Prez and Vice Prez couple.